We just concluded our second practice in preparation for the bowl game, and obviously, getting our guys out, getting them back moving after the layoff was important, and now we'll celebrate the individual accomplishments of our team tomorrow with our end of the year banquet. Monday we'll shop with a player, our annual Christmas event where our players get an opportunity to give back to the community. Our Kelly Cares Foundation, along with Hancock Whitney and our other sponsor, I believe, is Aflac, right? Aflac. We'll be shopping with young boys and girls from our community and making sure they have a great Christmas. So a couple of things on the agenda for our group. And then back to a full week of practice next week in preparation for a really good Baylor football team. So that's kind of what's going on, as well as you can imagine, through the media, you guys have seen, whether it's been on Twitter or Instagram, or as Coach Belichick has now coined the phrase, "my face." I kind of love that. That's awesome that we've created a new platform in social media. That guys have announced whether they're in the portal or whether they're going to the NFL, and we're maneuvering through all of those, as well as recruiting, and certainly a very busy time. So I'm sure you got questions, so let's get at it.
Coach, right here, obviously, you have a press release about the $1 million match challenge. Can you just talk a little bit more about that, maybe where the idea came from, and just obviously the overall goals of it?
Well, I figured that after my last press conference, where I pretty much challenged the entire LSU fan base, that if they wanted to continue to have a championship program, that they needed to understand that there's a financial responsibility as well, that I needed to put my money where my mouth was and be part of that as well. And so that's the genesis of that relative to the $1 million. So my wife and I are going to match up to $1 million, new monies that are donated through NIL that are earmarked for football, so we can be competitive in that space. And I thought that it should start with me and then continue to work through all the other avenues that are available to us.
Through a couple of days of practice, you have a good idea, what kind of team you're going to put on the field in this bowl game and what kind of participation you're going to have?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
good?
Oh, yeah. We'll have a very competitive football team that will go out and represent LSU in a manner that we expect. Our guys are excited about playing. Every player that is on that practice field is 100% committed and excited about being there. We don't have one guy that is like, I got to do this. I mean, they are excited, and when you have that, you have great morale, guys that are committed and will play hard for LSU. And that, like, when you're talking about representing the brand, you want a team that's going to go out there and compete their tail off, and this football team will.
At tight end specifically, how are you guys planning on going about that with Mason?
Oh, we got tight ends. We got so many tight ends. I mean, you just go up and down the roster. You can find tight ends. Look, we'll have to be creative, but we feel very comfortable that we can put our offense in a position that will be very effective and Clearly, we don't have, Mason, and he was a great target, but we're excited about the next step for him and support him 1,000% in what his decision was. But we have other guys on our roster that are going to be able to step in, and we feel great about what they can do for us.
Is Garrett healthy and practicing and available right now since the injury against Oklahoma?
Yes, he practiced. We're going to be careful with his pitch count, and when I use that term pitch count in terms of throws, he was about, we try to keep him about 60% today in terms of throws, but physically moving around, participated in 7-on-7, or 11-on-11 today, 1-on-1, so he's doing everything. We're just trying to keep his player load down a little bit right now, and we'll continue to ramp it up over the week.
If you could kind of discuss your offensive line availability for the bowl game, and then just the bowl game in general, how valuable are these practices and getting to look at what you could have for 2025?
Yeah, I mean, I like our group. Now, would I like the Will Campbell starting at left tackle and Emory Jones at right tackle? Absolutely, but we're excited about the next step for those guys as well, right? But Tyree Adams will get an opportunity. We have great confidence in him. Paul will continue to play for us, Mubanga. DJ Chester, obviously, getting an opportunity. Bo Bordelon gets an opportunity now to play some football for us. Colin Eccles, is a guy that we have a lot of trust in. Miles Frazier is going to play in the bowl game. And he has position flexibility, so we may kick him out to tackle and give us some help out there. We really like the progression of Weston Davis that can play tackle for us on both sides. So, again, I think we feel really good about the guys that we're going to put out there. And as an offensive line, as a group of 5 guys, we're going to be able to compete with anybody. Yeah, I mean, again, I think that this is a look at what 2025 could look at. As you know, we're in the transfer portal as well. We're going to build positional depth as well, and you'll see that, as we continue to work through the transfer portal. But we want to blend some youth with some positional depth as well. So we're addressing that as we speak. So you'll kind of see that as we move forward.
Coach, I was just going to ask you, how are the portal visits going so far? I know it's very early, but are you getting a sense of how it's going to go, and you think you'll be able to get what you need?
Yeah, look, recruiting in this model is not ideal, right? Because you don't have, market kind of target numbers. It's not true free agency, right? In the NFL, you got to go 4 years, and then after 4 years, there's a number. This is what you get. You walk into a building and you go, this is what I demand, right? And so you can truly recruit them, right? You say, hey, this is why you should come to our club. This is why, and this is the plan we have. This one's a little bit different, and we're still recruiting, right? We're talking about where you fit. This is the plan we have for you. This is why this makes sense for you. And then you have to deal with all the other iterations relative to contracts and things of that nature. But we believe we've got a great plan. We believe that we're in a position that we can be competitive with everybody in the country relative to what those contracts look like. And we feel confident that we're going to be able to put together the team that is needed to compete for the national championship.
Hey, Coach, are you allowed to talk about Bauer Sharp yet? There was a report that he signed his papers to come here.
Yes.
So what does he sort of bring to the tight end room for next season as obviously a veteran from Oklahoma?
Yeah, so the things that we like about it is, first of all, he's a talented player, but he's got physicality, especially in the run game. If you watch him closely, I mean, some of the things they did with him in the passing game, we've seen from other tight ends, right? But if you really look at his body of work, it's the physicality in the run game, pulling, blocking tackles, out on the perimeter. Love his physicality in the run game. Still, a very good athlete. Came in as a quarterback, at Southeast Louisiana, and certainly has the ability to do some really good things in the passing game for us as well. But I think what really stood out was having that kind of versatility in the run game and the passing game.
When you talked about recruiting and the difficulty, when you hire staff members now, is there still a lot of value in hiring guys that are known as great recruiters, just because maybe the value of that has changed so much because it has seemingly become more transactional than relational?
I still believe that the ability to communicate and connect is still, so if we say that in years past it was 100% recruiting, it's now, a margin lower than that, but relationships still matter. And the ability to connect and build those relationships matter. And I think as we continue to navigate through this new world order, if you will, there's going to be a market that flattens the lines. In other words, receivers are X, quarterbacks are X. And when that becomes even across the board, it's going to swing back to relationships. It's going to swing back to those that can connect and those programs that fit. So maybe right now the pendulum has swung a little bit towards the other way, but it's going to come back.
Brian, when did you, can you give some insight into Garrett Nussmeier's decision to come back? When did you feel pretty good about the fact that he was coming back, and just the value of having such an experienced quarterback returning for you next year compared to what a lot of other coaches are probably going to have?
Well, I think that, knowing Garrett, there was always a sense of he had waited for his opportunity, and he had been such a proponent of, LSU and wanting to be here that I think there was always this sense that, he was going to come back, but we never took it for granted. We did our due diligence. We made our case as to why it was in everybody's best interest for him to come back for another year, and re-recruited him from that standpoint. And when we were able to, present him with what we felt was, a great opportunity from a, NIL to revenue sharing and all the things that go along with that go along with a, arguably the best quarterback in the SEC, right? And maybe in the country. Then we were able to close this and get him to publicly say that he was coming back. So I think there was a lot of confidence, but you never take that for granted. You have to re-recruit, and we re-recruited him, and we're excited that he's back.
Brian, now that you guys, not just yourself, but everyone across the country has had 2, 3, 4, 5 years of the transfer portal, have you guys noticed emotional or mental effects of guys, whether they're going or staying? Obviously they're friends, teammates, they make those connections within the team themselves. Have you noticed a change or an effect on players when guys decide to leave school and go somewhere else?
I think there's I think there's a universal understanding that, like, if you look at, I think we have 16 guys that went into the transfer portal. The guys know that usually 90% of the guys are going into the transfer portal because of, playing time and or other reasons, right? And, we probably have 2 guys in there that just didn't add up to us, right? But most of it is we're trying to help them find a place where they can, go out and play, and we're supporting them, And then there's some guys that, it just wasn't the right fit, And so the guys in the program know that too, because they see it every day. They're witnesses. So I guess my answer to the question is, I don't know that they walk around going, oh my God, so-and-so. Other than maybe a couple of the ones that didn't add up to us, it's kind of like it is kind of what we thought it would be.
Coach, if from year to year negotiating the NIL, is it more likely it's easier to negotiate with the players that are already here in your program versus pursuing those in the portal? And if so, does it make sense in particular situations to maybe overpay or pursue or pay more for a high school athlete than it is to try and get somebody in the portal and then not knowing what the quality is going to be in the portal?
There's a lot of layers to that question. I would say this, that with revenue sharing, on the horizon, there's certainly going to be effects that will begin to level what is out there relative to what the normal amount is for particular classes. The freshman class, the class that's here currently, and then the transfer portal. There'll be, quote unquote, market awareness of what those are. We're not in that time right now, and that's what makes it very difficult. But I think once we get into revenue sharing, we'll be able to make a lot more sense of that, and it'll make more sense to everybody else. So there won't be such a blurred line between freshmen coming in, those that are already in your program, and those that you go into the transfer portal. Right now, it's a very blurred line, and that's what's making it quite difficult. Good, thank you.